Have you ever sent a message in the morning only to feel completely invisible? What if I told you that there's a way to send a message that no man can ever ignore? Imagine turning your words into something that resonates deeply with anyone who reads them. Ready to discover how? What if your good morning text could spark curiosity, stir emotions, and plant seeds of deep connection? This isn't just about sending a simple good morning. It's about making someone feel truly seen, appreciated, and valued. Keep reading because today you're about to unlock the secret to sending messages that create lasting bonds. In the chaos of everyday life, it's easy to feel unnoticed. But what if there was one powerful message that could change that? A message that doesn't just say hello, but speaks directly to the heart, to the very essence of someone's being. Get ready, because you're about to learn how to send the perfect good morning message, one that will leave a lasting impact. Have you ever sent a message in the morning and felt like you were just speaking into the void, like your words didn't even matter? The kind of message where you wonder if anyone even noticed? Well, that's about to change. Today, you're going to discover 7 powerful good morning messages that no man, and I mean no man, can ignore. These aren't your typical good morning, have a great day texts. These messages are different. They go beyond the ordinary. These are messages that do more than just greet someone. They spark curiosity, stir deep emotion, and plant seeds of connection, appreciation, and respect. So, go ahead, grab your coffee, take a deep breath, and prepare yourself, because once you start sending these messages, everything changes. There's something incredibly understated yet profoundly powerful about a message that reflects someone's deeper value, especially when it arrives first thing in the morning. It's not simply about being kind, sweet, or Palatino. It's much more than that. It's about acknowledging someone's existence, recognizing their place in the complex web of your life. Imagine sending a message like, "Good morning, just a reminder. You're someone's reason to smile today and mine too." At first glance, it may seem gentle, maybe even trivial, but this is no empty sentiment. What you're really doing is touching on one of the most fundamental psychological needs every human has, the need to matter. And not in some abstract, distant sense, but in a personal, intimate way. This message resonates because it tells the other person you are noticed. You are not just another face in the crowd, not just a functionary of daily life. You are a source of joy, a bearer of light in someone else's world. And that's not just a compliment. It's a mirror-an emotional mirror. We live in a world where attention has been commodified. Everyone's vying for it. Yet despite this constant competition for attention, most of us feel unseen. We feel invisible. And that's a tragic reality. But when someone receives a message like this, something changes inside. Deep within the masculine psyche, beneath the noise of daily life, the expectations, and the silent battles, there lies a hunger to feel essential. Not for what he can do, not for his paycheck, not for mowing the lawn, but for who he truly is. This message asks nothing in return. It doesn't demand, command, or manipulate. It simply acknowledges. And that's what makes it so deeply impactful. It cuts through the noise of a world full of performance and pretense. Because in a world where everyone is performing, you are offering something rare: presence. And presence, especially in the quiet moments of the morning, can be one of the most powerful gifts you can give. Now that we've explored the impact of a well-timed message, let's dive deeper into why presence truly matters and how you can use it to deepen your connections with others. Ready to unlock the power of your words and make every message count? Let's continue to explore how you can transform not just your mornings, but the way you connect with those who matter most to you. Continuing from where we left off, we've seen how powerful the right message can be in capturing someone's attention. Now let's explore the second message, one that takes a different approach but is just as effective. This message shifts from affirmation to intrigue, from the clear to the mysterious. It's about leaving something unsaid. yet leaving it open enough to pull them in. Imagine sending something like this. Woke up thinking about last night. I'll tell you more later. With just those few words, you've created something rare in today's communication. Suspense. Why does this work so well? Because it disrupts the ordinary. It doesn't follow the usual script. Instead of offering a complete thought, you leave them with an open loop. This is what psychologists call the Zeigarnik effector, tendency to remember unfinished tasks more vividly than completed ones. This principle doesn't just apply to memory, it applies to attention, to emotion, to that nagging sense of longing. We fixate on the things we don't fully understand. It's a mechanism hardwired into the human mind. The beauty of this message is that it plants a seedone that can't rest. It doesn't manipulate. It doesn't play games. Instead, it's about creating depth. It's about drawing someone in by offering something worth thinking about. You're not shouting louder, not being overly available, but rather whispering something that invites them to lean in closer. That's where the magic happens. What makes this message so powerful isn't just the tease, but the meaning behind it. Last night could refer to anything: a shared laugh, a fleeting glance, or even a quiet moment you both shared but never discussed. The message works because it points to a moment of shared significance, something unfinished, something between you both that's yet to be explored. For men, particularly those who have built their lives around solving problems, fixing things, and getting to the point, unresolved emotions are rare. They're conditioned to seek closure, to reach the end of every story. So when you hint at something emotionally open-ended, it pulls at them in ways they often can't explain. They'll find themselves thinking about it while driving to work, standing in line for coffee, or in those in-between moments when their focus should be elsewhere. And why does it linger? Not because it's manipulative, but because it's real. It suggests there's still more to be discovered, and that you are part of that discovery. The beauty of this approach lies in its restraint. The world constantly pushes us to say everything, to overexpress, to fill every silence with words, emojis, and countless exclamation marks. But there's true relational wisdom in knowing what not to say. It's in letting a sentence breathe, allowing curiosity to work its quiet magic. When you send a message like this, you're not just flirting, you're elevating the conversation. You're saying, there's more here. There's depth beyond the surface. And what makes it even more powerful? You're not demanding immediate attention. You're inviting them to explore, but not all at once. In time, when they're ready, and that's the key. What many men find so irresistible is the promise of discovery, something they can dive into at their own pace, in their own time. Now that we've explored the art of intrigue, let's take a closer look at why leaving space in a conversation can create an undeniable sense of attraction. Stay tuned as we dive deeper into the power of emotional connection and how to keep the conversation flowing without forcing it. Building on the idea of intrigue and emotional depth, let's explore why the right words can create something truly irresistible. It's not the message itself that holds the power, but what it represents. It symbolizes mystery, meaning movement, the feeling that life isn't merely a list of tasks to check off, but a rich story unfolding. And what makes it even more captivating is the realization that they're not just passive observers of this story, they are active participants in something emotionally vibrant, something truly alive. So, don't underestimate the weight of your morning words. In a world constantly filled with noise and distractions, the right message doesn't just speak, it echoes. It lingers throughout the day, subtly shaping perceptions and attitudes. It reinforces an important truth for both of you. Connection is not born from grand declarations or over-the-top gestures. Instead, it's nurtured in moments of genuine presence, insight, and truth, shared at the perfect time. Take a moment and think about saying something like this. You know, you have this calm strength I really admire. Just thought you should know that this morning. This isn't just a compliment. It's a psychological affirmation, a reflection back to someone of their best self phone they may have forgotten amidst the daily pressures, the quiet erosion of their own belief in who they truly are. And when you offer that affirmation in the morning, before the noise of the world has had a chance to overwhelm them, you're setting the tone for their entire day. You're shaping their experience before they even step out the door. This is not manipulation. This is responsibility, the responsibility to see someone for who they truly are, and, most importantly, to vocalize it when you do. There's a deep truth about the male psyche that is often overlooked, and I'm not talking about societal expectations or cultural scripts. No, I'm referring to something ancient, something almost biological, the drive to be competent, respected, and a source of stability. But in all that striving, what's often lost is recognition. Not for the outcome, but for the essence of who they are. When you tell a man he has calm strength, you're not just offering a pat on the back, you're acknowledging the presence of something he may not even have the words for. It's a way of being, a pattern of living that he might not have the space to reflect on. It's like holding up a mirror to his inner architecture and saying, "This matters. I see it." That simple act alone can alter how a man carries himself throughout the day. Suddenly, he's not just going through the motions of routine, he's inhabiting a role that someone else believes in. And that belief gives him power. There's a unique strength in subtle praise, especially because it doesn't scream for attention, it's not desperate or needy. It doesn't ask for validation in return. It simply offers truth with dignity, a rare currency in today's world. This kind of love doesn't soften, it strengthens. It doesn't bind, it builds. But let's dive even deeper, because there's something else happening here. When you affirm someone's character rather than just their performance, you bypass their defenses. We are all accustomed to being judged based on what we dow hat we can achieve or accomplish. But when your message says, "I admire how you move through the world," it transcends mere achievement. It affirms the essence of who they are, and in doing so, it disarms them in a way nothing else can. Now that we've explored the deeper power of affirmation and how it strengthens connection, let's move forward and uncover how these subtle messages create a bond that goes beyond words. Stay tuned as we dive into the role of emotional vulnerability and how it enhances the emotional resonance in your relationships. Building on the idea of subtle praise and emotional recognition, we now enter a new dimension, one that explores shared vision. This next type of message goes beyond mere acknowledgement or admiration. It's about inviting someone into a future, into a dream that they can emotionally invest in. For example, imagine saying something like this: "This morning, I caught myself smiling, just imagining us somewhere warm, sipping coffee, with no rush at all." It sounds simple, doesn't it? But it's much more than just a romantic gesture. It's psychological architecture. You're shaping a future reality in his mind, one that he can emotionally inhabit. And that's no small feat. Humans are story-driven beings. We don't just experience life in isolated facts, we experience it as an unfolding narrative. The most compelling stories are the ones where we are central, where we are the protagonists, not just bystanders in someone else's tale. There's a deep truth about the male psyche that is often overlooked, and I'm not talking about societal expectations or cultural scripts. No, I'm referring to something ancient, something almost biological, the drive to be competent, respected, and a source of stability. But in all that striving, what's often lost is recognition. Not for the outcome, but for the essence of who they are. When you tell a man he has calm strength, you're not just offering a pat on the back, you're acknowledging the presence of something he may not even have the words for. It's a way of being, a pattern of living that he might not have the space to reflect on. It's like holding up a mirror to his inner architecture and saying, "This matters. I see it." That simple act alone can alter how a man carries himself throughout the day. Suddenly, he's not just going through the motions of routine, he's inhabiting a role that someone else believes in. And that belief gives him power. There's a unique strength in subtle praise, especially because it doesn't scream for attention. It's not desperate or needy. It doesn't ask for validation in return. It simply offers truth with dignity, a rare currency in today's world. This kind of love doesn't soften, it strengthens. It doesn't bind, it builds. But let's dive even deeper, because there's something else happening here. When you affirm someone's character rather than just their performance, you bypass their defenses. We are all accustomed to being judged based on what we dow hat we can achieve or accomplish. But when your message says, "I admire how you move through the world," it transcends mere achievement. It affirms the essence of who they are, and in doing so, it disarms them in a way nothing else can. Now that we've explored the deeper power of affirmation and how it strengthens connection, let's move forward and uncover how these subtle messages create a bond that goes beyond words. Stay tuned as we dive into the role of emotional vulnerability and how it enhances the emotional resonance in your relationships. Building on the idea of subtle praise and emotional recognition, we now enter a new dimension that explores shared vision. This next type of message goes beyond mere acknowledgement or admiration. It's about inviting someone into a future, into a dream that they can emotionally invest in. For example, imagine saying something like this: "This morning, I caught myself smiling, just imagining us somewhere warm, sipping coffee, with no rush at all." It sounds simple, doesn't it? But it's much more than just a romantic gesture. It's psychological architecture. You're shaping a future reality in his mind, one that he can emotionally inhabit. And that's no small feat. Humans are story-driven beings. We don't just experience life in isolated facts, we experience it as an unfolding narrative. The most compelling stories are the ones where we are central, where we are the protagonists, not just bystanders in someone else's tale. Presses down. It's in that stillness that we hear the words that shape our journey. What we hear, what we believe, has the power to define how we carry ourselves through the hours that follow. So, when someone receives a message like, "Whatever today throws at you, I already know you've got this. I believe in you completely," it's not just motivational fluff. It's not some recycled Instagram quote. It's far more profound. It's an emotional anchor. In fact, for many, it might be the only anchor they get that day. People often start their days bracing themselves not for encouragement, but for criticism, failure, or indifference. Most of us, especially those carrying invisible burdens like financial stress, professional exhaustion, or personal confusion, begin our mornings already feeling behind. We rarely hear with clarity and sincerity that someone truly believes in us, not because it isn't true, but because we forget to say it. Yet, when that belief is communicated by someone whose voice matters, it can transform the very chemistry of a person's self-perception. The masculine psyche, in particular, has been shaped by challenge, by the constant push to perform, to produce, to be judged, based on output and utility. So, when a woman sends a message of belief that doesn't rely on proof or success, but precedes it, she is offering something radical, unconditional emotional support. And let's be clear, this isn't softness, this isn't coddling, this is strength offered without strings attached. It's someone saying, "I know who you are," even when you're questioning it. The message embedded in those words is much deeper than it seems. It doesn't simply say, "I support you." It says, "I see your capability. I trust your resilience. I recognize the battles you're fighting." It's a reminder that they are not alone in their fight, even if only spiritually, and that reminder plants itself deep within. It might not prompt an immediate text back. It might not spark a long conversation, but the impact is undeniable. It lingers beneath the surface, quietly working its way into their mindset. Now that we've explored the power of belief and its transformative impact, let's dive deeper into how these subtle messages strengthen the emotional bond between two people. Stay tuned as we uncover the art of offering unconditional support, the kind that fuels growth, confidence, and connection, without ever demanding anything in return. Continuing from the power of belief and emotional connection, we now dive into a new realm, the power of vulnerability. The previous messages we explored were built on strength and affirmation, but now we shift towards something equally potent, admitting vulnerability. The message that opens the door to vulnerability might sound something like, "I usually don't say this, but mornings feel softer when I hear from you." On the surface, it seems delicate, almost fragile. And in a way, it is. But don't mistake delicacy for weakness. Vulnerability, especially genuine vulnerability, is one of the most terrifying yet powerful gifts we can offer to someone. What makes this vulnerability so impactful, especially when it's wrapped in simplicity, when it's not forced, and when it doesn't demand anything in return? That's where its real power lies. This message reveals a truth that many people are afraid to voice, that connection changes the texture of our days, that the presence or absence of a particular person can completely shift our internal weather. When you share something like this, you're admitting that you care, that you're affected by their presence, their energy, their words. And for most men, this is startling. Why? Because men in general are not told they matter emotionally. They are told to perform, to provide, to protect. They're rarely told, hey, your voice actually softens my day. That kind of truth doesn't fit neatly into the traditional narrative of masculinity. But it's precisely why this message lands with such weight. It challenges the assumption that their worth is purely transactional. It says, you don't have to do anything, you already matter just by being here. But there's something even more important happening beneath the surface, something deeply psychological. This message also communicates a sense of emotional safety. You're saying, I trust you enough to be open, to risk showing you my tenderness. That's no small gesture, it's a bridge between guarded hearts. It's where real intimacy begins, not in grand declarations of love, but in quiet admissions of impact, in simply saying, you're a part of my emotional landscape, whether you intended to be. Timing plays a crucial role here. The morning is when our defenses are at their lowest. We haven't fully stepped into our roles yet, and we're still connected to our subconscious, still influenced by dreams, hope, and memories. It's the time when we are most ourselves, when our hearts and minds are open in ways that are hard to replicate later in the day. So, when someone sends a message like this in those early moments, it doesn't feel like strategy, it feels like truth. And that truth seeps into the psyche. It colors how we see the day ahead, and more importantly, how we see the person who sent it. These kinds of messages, sincere and vulnerable, require immense courage. And here's the irony. People often mistake vulnerability for passivity, but in reality, it's one of the most active forms of strength. It's saying, I'm going to show you what's real for me even though I don't have to. And that's a form of bravery that can't be ignored. As we explore the transformative power of vulnerability, let's take a deeper look at how this kind of connection rooted in truth and emotional honesty creates the foundation for lasting, meaningful relationships. Stay tuned as we continue to unravel the ways these subtle yet powerful messages shape our interactions and deepen our bonds. Continuing from the powerful vulnerability we've explored, let's now delve into emotional leadership. When you open yourself up in a way that says, I don't know how you'll respond, but I'm going to risk being known, you're not showing weakness. Quite the opposite. This is the essence of leadership, emotional leadership. You're saying, I'll go first. I'll step into the light so you know it's safe to follow. And whether they choose to follow or not, the act of stepping forward creates an opportunity for deeper connection. You've offered something that has the potential to change the quality of the relationship, not just in that moment, but in the long run. What you're truly saying with that kind of openness is, I value this enough to be real. And that's rare. That's sacred. It's the kind of message that doesn't just start a day, it lingers. It stays with someone, shaping their perception of you and the connection you share for a lifetime. There's a certain type of message that transcends the transactional nature of most communication. It doesn't just ask, how are you? Or offer a simple, predictable thinking of you. It speaks to something deeper, something more elemental. It could be something like, I had a strange dream last night, and you were in it. Not sure what it means, but it stayed with me. That kind of message, that kind of moment, operates on a completely different level than casual interaction. It doesn't merely speak to the surface of a persona, it speaks to their symbolic presence in your inner world. And that's something we almost never talk about. In Jungian psychology, for example, dreams aren't just nonsense or random firing of neurons in our brains. They're archetypal messages, emotional codes that rise from the depths of the unconscious. When someone appears in your dream, it often signifies that their essence, something about who they are or what they represent as, become embedded in your psyche. Now, imagine receiving a message that tells you this. In essence, you reached a part of me I didn't even realize was open to you. That's not just flattering, that's intimate. Deeply, almost unnervingly intimate. What you're really saying with that message is, you're not just in my day, you're in my story even when I'm not in control of the narrative. For a man, especially one accustomed to feeling like he has to earn his place in someone's life through action or utility, this is nothing short of a revelation. Here you are, offering him a place in your subconscious without him having to earn it. Not as a role to perform, but as a presence to be acknowledged. That's a shift in perspective one that can deeply affect how he views himself and his value in the relationship. This message also invites curiosity. It doesn't explain, it doesn't interpret it, simply says, this happened, it mattered, I'm sharing it with you. That's humility. That's authenticity. It's a way of saying, I trust you enough to let you see into parts of me that I don't fully understand myself. And that trust becomes a bridge that invites connection not based on status or performance, but on mutual fascination. It acknowledges that we are all mysterious, complex beings with depths that can't always be understood, but are always worth exploring. Now that we've explored how emotional leadership and vulnerability can shape the depth of connection, let's move forward and dive into how these moments of truth create lasting emotional bonds that transcend mere communication. Stay with me as we uncover how these subtle exchanges foster intimacy and mutual respect. Building on the power of presence and emotional connection, let's take a step further and explore how certain messages, when timed just right, can transcend the ordinary. We often find ourselves questioning our desires, searching for meaning, and trying to understand what truly matters. Sometimes, the people who enter our dreams are the very ones who can help us uncover those hidden longings we weren't even aware of. Now, think about the timing early morning, when the fog of sleep hasn't fully lifted. When we're still teetering on the edge between the conscious and unconscious, that's when a message like this arrives. It doesn't just land, it lingers. It opens a loop in the mind of question with no answer yet, just a feeling that something meaningful is unfolding, and that you're a part of it. That's the kind of message that stays with you, quietly shaping your thoughts and emotions as you move through the day. Then, there's the final message. It seems deceptively simple at first. Before the day gets chaotic, just know I'm thinking of you right now. Right this second. On paper, it might seem mundane, but in reality, it's anything but. When you truly understand its structure, timing, and intent, it's not about distracting someone, it's about offering presence, emotional availability in real time. What you're really doing is reaching through the noise of the world before it pulls him in 100 different directions. Before the demands pile up, before the armor comes on, you're offering him a moment of pure presence, before he has to perform for anyone else. You're saying, in this exact moment, before you become the version of yourself the world requires, I see you. This type of message speaks to a deep human need, the desire to be held in someone's awareness, not in a grand, ceremonial way, but as a conscious choice. Someone chose to think of you in the quiet before the storm. And that means something. It means you matter. But there's another layer to this, and it's often overlooked. We live in a society that's obsessed with productivity. We value people based on how fast they move, how much they produce, and how well they perform under pressure. But this message interrupts that script. It says, you're not valuable because of what you'll do today. You're valuable now before the effort, before the proving, just as you are. That's emotionally disarming, especially for someone who's built their identity on being needed but not always being known. This message doesn't demand attention. It offers it. It's a gift. not a request. And it's that distinction that makes it powerful. You're not asking for anything, you're giving peace. You're telling them, even if everything goes wrong today, you were already cared for before the first email arrived, before the first decision had to be made. This message is grounding. It's anchoring. For a man, especially one living in a storm of expectation, it can be the one calm voice that reminds him there's a place where he doesn't have to perform to be loved. And that's why these messages work. Not because they're clever, not because they're poetic, but because they're true. They respect the emotional structure of the person receiving them. They speak to unspoken longings, the need to be seen, trusted, and remembered. These messages don't manipulate. They reveal. They say, I see the parts of you that the world doesn't ask for, but I value them anyway. That's not just a good morning. That's psychological nourishment. It's how you build not just connection, but communion. A moment where two people stop being separate for a second and something real passes between them, something that lasts far longer than the morning ever will. Now that we've explored the transformative power of emotional connection, vulnerability, and true presence, I want to hear from you. Which of these messages spoke to your soul the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Let's build a space where we inspire and lift each other every morning. If this video made you feel something, go ahead and like it. Share it with a friend who deserves to start her day with confidence and clarity. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because every week we dive deeper into the power of words, relationships, and becoming magnetic from the inside out. Got a topic you want me to cover next? Put it in the comments. I'm here for you. Until next time, remember, you are worthy, you are powerful, and your words carry magic.